Welcome to Impact Wrestling 3 days before Slammiversary. Was this a good show? Many people will like it. There's no lie about it. But to me, Impact just proved to me again they cannot build correctly going into a major pay-per-view. I'll explain the reason why at the end of this review. Which you agree with me or not will be up to you. Now, Knockouts tag match. Tasha Steelz and Savannah Evans versus Grace and Mia Yim. Now, 3 out of those 4 women will be in the Queen of the Mountain match, where we're going to have a Mickie James as a special guest enforcer. I said something months ago, or maybe a month or so ago, that to make the King of the Mountain match work as a female match, hang on, you're going to need a stand-in for Jeff Jarrett. You're going to need one. I thought it would be Gail Kim. So now, what do we got? We got a Mickie James as a stand-in for Jeff Jarrett. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I do hope it will end up like a Jeff Jarrett match. In other words, a Jeff Jarrett type of attitude from a Mickie James. I'm saying it right now as a prediction. That I believe a Mickie James will do something similar to Jeff Jarrett when he did the King of the Mountain match as either a participant of it or an enforcer of it. That's what I believe. Now, we got Grace. Well, the heels won. Grace nails Mia Yim. Now, does it mean you're going to have dissension between the two? Don't know. I believe there should be. But the key of this is going to be, what is the Queen of the Mountain match going to be like once we have the enforcer of a Mickie James there? Will she act heelish or will she act like a face? And will she act like Jeff Jarrett whenever he was involved in that type of match and did a similar thing as an enforcer? I'm sure he did one. In all the years that appeared, Jeff had to be a special enforcer sooner or later. So this is what you get. Now, a match that really was very confusing. It was not about the quality of the match. It was about what happened in the beginning. Mike Bailey versus Trey. Trey, one, had no intro. It was just cut in really quick. He had no intro for his music. They didn't even announce him there. Not until Mike Bailey came out and they announced him. And it just felt really disjointed. It was like someone spliced the film badly. Because surprisingly, even though they still do digital stuff, sometimes they still record things on, guess what, videotape. They do, some places still do videotape because they like the ability to be able to splice, even though some places now use digital to splice segments together using Final Cut Pro or using DaVinci Resolve or anything like that. So whoever spliced that together did it messy. It was like they were trying to cut some time down because something must have been a little too long. That's what it felt like. Either something was done too long or the person didn't splice it together correctly, either by videotape or using Final Cut Pro or DaVinci Resolve or Vegas, which is Sony Vegas. One of those softwares, if they were doing it. And the thing is, guess who won? You would think they would do something with Mike Bailey. That you're trying to build up Mike Bailey, but you let Trey win. Really? You're trying to make, if I'm right, which I don't think I am, you were supposed to do something with Ace Austin dealing a Mike Bailey. Because what was the point of letting Ace Austin win the damn title? The X Division title. What was the point of him winning if he was not going to be dealing with Mike Bailey? Now, you just had Mike Bailey job the Trey. Why? That makes no sense. To me personally, it doesn't make any sense. Let's move on. We had a moment in the back with Taya Valkyrie with a Rosemary. And we're now going to have a match, as I said, with Taya and Rosemary working together so they can go after the tag titles. And they made it very clear to each other that, well, I know, and this is what Taya said generally. She said, I know we have issues. I know we have problems. And Rosemary made it very clear, this is always about you. And she said, yes, I'm wrong. I was wrong. I am sorry. But I want to tag with you. I want to win the titles with you. And I'm going to help you find Havoc. Or help Havoc, whichever. Either to help Havoc or find her. Since I haven't seen BTI, if they had mentioned anything on BTI about Havoc not being there, Rosemary was happy because now they're going after Havoc after this is all said and done. But what does that actually mean? I don't know. But here's the problem. What have we really done with the Knockouts tag titles? Nothing. And understand, I'm not against the Knockouts tag titles. I want them to succeed if they would only do one damn thing. Make it mean something. As I've said before numerous times, I may have complained about it, but guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I have told you what Impact just needs to do every single freaking time. Bring in independent female wrestlers to basically work with the tag teams you got. Bring them in for like 2 or 3 tapings to work with the tag champs. So it looks like they're getting fresh meat to go up against. And the ones that you want the tag champs to eventually go after. So they don't feel so stale going after the same women. Well, unfortunately, it's not like it was in 2020 going to 2021 where we had 12 or 13 women and they went up against each other multiple upon multiple upon multiple upon multiple times. We don't even get that now. We barely see the tag titles defended. We haven't seen barely anything of the influence, particularly now that the Inspiration is left. And if anyone's happy with Inspiration leaving wrestling, it's understandable. You want to see both women happy. You want to see Cass and Jessica happy. But guess what? They lasted how many months before they said, well, we don't want to do this anymore. But we're happy that we managed to get a tag title match and win the titles for a couple of months before we leave. But we just wanted to credit 6 months. 6 freaking months. And most of that months, they didn't do anything. They didn't get booked correctly. And then they did the same stick when they said clearly on not one podcast, but 3 separate podcasts. One, Renee's podcast, Moxley's wife, and Chris Van Vliet's podcast, 2 separate videos with Cass in one and Jessica another one. They said in all 3 of them, we came together and we said we're going to start working on our stick and we want to do something different. What did they do? Nothing. And that pissed me off. Not because I think they can't wrestle for shit. It's because they promised they try and they didn't. So when you look at the Knockouts tag titles, why do you care? Because no one's treated them correctly. I don't expect them to make big money off of them, but at least spotlight them to make them mean something. Hell, spotlight them on BTI and say the majority of work is going to be done on BTI for the women. At least then you'll see something. Moving on. And let's get this over with. Alicia Edwards versus Marsha Slamovich. Did you guys actually think Alicia was going to win? Nope. She didn't win. She got annihilated. She was completely annihilated. And after it was done clean, which was maybe not even 2 minutes, maybe a minute and a half near 2 when she was destroyed, Gazelle Shaw went in there, and it looks like she's acting like a face now. I don't know if she's acting like a face. She seems to like Alicia, and she's telling Marsha to leave, but that must mean she's going to go after her next. Now, let me make this clear and clean. Because I know people are going to say, well, you see, they're now doing something with Marsha. Yes, they are. After how many months she's been on the roster, where she's been fed fresh meat, not women from the main roster. She literally has been given indie wrestlers to destroy. They now finally doing something with the main roster. They, instead of giving her a signature win at a Impact Plus, or in this case, they could have set something up for her at, guess what's the anniversary? We get this. You've been spotlighting Marsha Slamovich for months, saying that this woman is destructive. Wouldn't it have been better for her to really have a signature match at Slammiversary next 3 days? Why is there no statement about her having a match? At least, as far as I know, she doesn't have a match. I could be wrong. You guys tell me below she's got a match. If she does, that's great. But as far as I know, she doesn't have one. Particularly, she just destroyed Alicia. And if she's going to have a match, it'll probably be on BT, well, the kickoff show. And it may be against Gazelle Shaw. I would have thought they would do something important with her, particularly that she's the next coming of a Goldberg. As I said before, she's not. Next, we had the Briscoe brothers versus the, let me give it to you like this. Seeing that now Jay White is the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion of New Japan Pro Wrestling, I kind of wish this had not been recorded beforehand, because it would have been nice for him to come out with his title. I know that Impact wouldn't always do that, but I think in this situation, since they're always spotlighting New Japan Pro Wrestling before their show ends, you would think they would allow him to come out with the title. Or at least, in this case, due to the fact this is pre-recorded, we wouldn't see it, even though they did announce it, that he is now the champion of New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is understandable. I'm glad. But this is one of the disadvantages of pre-recordings, because we now know he's champ, because we saw in AEW, we know their pay-per-view was already done. I kind of wish Impact would do less of these tapings. I know it's cost-effective, but I wish they would stop doing it. Now, the match was fine. In the end, with a Hikuleo at ringside, we get the Briscoes winning, which I was not surprised. But it looked like there might have been a controversy, and I still say this clearly, Chris Bay is one of the best wrestlers on that damn roster. But unfortunately, they're not really doing much with him. Yes, he's in the Bullet Club. Yes, he's in a faction, but I truly believe Chris needs more, and either he needs a tag championship, or in this situation where they need more people in the main title scene, he's going to have to be pushed into the main title scene, because who else do they have left? Who? I'm just saying. Now, we had a little bit of surprise. We had members of Aces and Eights show up, which was Garrett. I have not seen a Garrett Bischoff since the last time he was on Impact Wrestling TNA. I don't remember him. When I saw him, I didn't even recognize him until they said his name. Having that damn, I believe he was the one with the mohawk. And I'm going like, what? I couldn't even recognize him. He looked so different. And then there's Wes Briscoe. I believe was it Jack Briscoe's son? Or the other Briscoe? I can't remember. An actual Briscoe, not saying that the Briscoe brothers, which is Mark and Jay, aren't Briscoes, because their actual names are Briscoe. I always thought the Briscoe brothers were actually one of Jack's or his brother actual relatives, and they're not. They're totally different Briscoes. But it would have been nice if both the Briscoe brothers and Wes Briscoe had actually had a moment. Tell me you wouldn't have liked to seen the Briscoes, who have made their name with their own family name, meet another Briscoe and could have shaken each other's hand and saying, hey man, how you doing? How's your dad doing? They say, I'm all right. How you been doing? Been doing all right. It's good to see that a Briscoe, even if you ain't in my blood, is doing good. See that you're winning. I'm glad for you. Give him a little knock. I mean, that's what something I would have liked to see separately from the Aces and Eight moment. Now, was it a good moment? It wasn't bad. I mean, this is Aces and Eights. A couple of years ago, they played around with the moment of people wanting to bring Aces and Eights back. And I clearly said, no, I don't want to see a storyline with Aces and Eights in it. An homage to Aces and Eights for Slammiversary because they made their moment in TNA, fine. A match, fine. There was no problem with it. They had a good match. They lost. And then you see D'Lo wanting to, well, D'Lo was not happy about how they cheated. And they were ready to nail D'Lo after they nailed them. And D'Lo went all out to try and stop them. And then basically the rest of the former members of Team Impact, or the newest members of the team. When you see the Motor City Machine Guns, you see a Frankie Kazarian, you know that's Team Impact. Still, that's Team Impact, even though Frankie is not there all the time. But I will say now, knowing that guess who's going to be showing up on Slammiversary, it is now going to be Nick Aldis, not Magnus. Nick Aldis is going to be in the match with Team TNA/Impact versus Honor No More, that 10-man tag. Now the question is going to be who's the last person that's going to be showing up. I don't know. Who do I believe should show up? Here's where it gets interesting. Who would be the best person to show up at Slammiversary? There are two. One, Samoa Joe. He is synonymous with that company. And I truly believe it would really make people happy to see Samoa Joe, yes, the ROH television champion, show up there, and it would be nice to see it. But there's really only one person. You know who's got to be. Who else would do it? It's got to be Jeff Jarrett. There's no one else I can think of that would be the best person to be on Team Impact. Jeff. He's the one who started the company. He's the only person that would make best sense to actually do the damn match. Jeff Jarrett. I'm not saying Jeff is going to make it great, but I'm sure that is the only person that makes the best sense. Now, if I'm wrong, well, I'm wrong. Maybe it'll be Samoa Joe. Maybe it might be Kurt. No, Kurt. I don't know if Kurt's ever going to go back in the ring. Now, I do know that Ric Flair wants to go back in the ring, but I don't know if that's the best person to do it. I still think Jeff or Samoa Joe would be the best. I'm just saying. Now, we're going to get something I never did see in Impact Wrestling or TNA, what little bit I managed to see, because I started watching TNA in 2010, even though I had a Genesis DVD from 2005. No, 2005 or 6. That is the Reverse Battle Royal. I've never seen it. So I don't know what to expect from a battle royal that's been has been flipped on its side, and you got to fight to get into the match to throw people out of the match. I don't know how to feel about that. Like I said, I've never seen it, but hopefully it'll work out. I don't know. Finally, this is where it gets interesting. This is going to be one of the few images that are going to be thrown in my face. Contract signing. It's in my face. First person I'm going to show will be Eric Young. He spoke very well. I liked how Eric made this segment flow. He did well, making it very clear. This is not about you. This is about me. This is not about you, even though you're 1,000 times. This is what he said to Josh. You're 1,000 times better than these people. And that was after Josh did his bit. But this is not about you. This is about me. And I'm going to show you that you have been blind to the truth. I'm going to make you see the truth when this match happens. This is my legacy, not yours. Not exact words, but that's what it is. Now, was Josh doing a decent job of it? Yes. Josh did a good job talking about how he became a fan due to Impact Wrestling, and he became synonymous as a wrestler because he wanted to emulate or be inspired by Showtime Eric Young. Now, when I saw Eric Young, particularly on my DVD set, I do believe he was on. It's been a while since I've seen Genesis, 2005 or 6. He was working with, Jordan, who was acting gay at the time, or possibly acting gay. So he's had his moments of up and down. So he was saying that the one he cared about was Showtime Eric Young, not that Eric Young, the crazed nut job Eric Young, who tried to go after the Knockouts tag titles with his wife in time. That is ODB. I'm going to give it to you like this. I know people are going to say, a few are going to say, Josh just was stale, boring. No. Josh did his job. Whether you like it or not, he did his job. Now, and this is the key of this entire situation, was those segments effective once each of them signed the contract? Yes, it was effective. Now, you know what wasn't effective? The beatdown afterward, seeing Scott D'Amore lay out a Diener, then get his ass nailed, and then they basically cut open the top of his head a little bit, and that was Eric Young cutting open a little bit of Josh's skull, and then giving up a pile driver on a fully exposed Kong. This is why I said in the very beginning of this review that, again, Impact Wrestling has shown me they can never get a pay-per-view build right. Why would you do this now? Why? Couldn't you have done this 2 or 3 weeks ago? This is way it could have been done. Do this segment 2 or 3 weeks ago. Say that we don't know if Josh is going to be there. We will have a contract signing. And then you have Josh do come out. Still a little screwed up, but at least he comes out. His neck is a little jacked. He may believe his neck is jacked. You can still see the cut on his scalp. Or at least 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks. At least some time to build this up. And you can still see the staples or the stitches in his head. And he says, you tried to lay me out. It didn't work. I'm still going to take you out. I'm going to prove to you that I am the true owner of this title. I am the one that's going to make this mean something. This is important. This is the 20th anniversary that you helped to create. Whether you like it or not, this is your legacy as well as anyone else. And I'm going to prove to you that this is why I'm the best. And this is why you are a disgrace if your younger self saw you right now. And that's what he was talking about when it came to Showtime Eric Young, the younger version of him. If he saw him, he would be disgusted by the way he's acting. In actuality, if the younger Eric Young in real life saw the older Eric Young, he would say, damn, I went bald. That would be one. And two, he'd probably be pretty proud of his older self because he worked in Impact Wrestling. He worked in WWE. Yeah, he didn't get a fair shot there, but he did manage to make it there. And he managed to make a place for himself on television and media. He did a good job with that. Remember, he did have a show on Discovery. Hell, they keep running commercials on Access TV for UFC where he's in it. So, when you see the situation, this could have been scheduled a couple of weeks ahead of time. And then you could have done this. And yes, even if they got to show him get beat up a little bit, at least you would have done this earlier, which would give a real reason to worry that he could lose. Because as it stands now, either he's just going to flat out lose, and then it would really cement Eric Young, or he's going to win this and it's going to feel telegraphed. That's why it sucks. And I say this right now to idiots who keep thinking this is because of Josh being boring and stuff. Stupid. No. It's not because Josh is boring. It's because Impact Wrestling... Calm. It's because Impact Wrestling Creative sucks because they could have scheduled this a couple of weeks ahead of time. And this would have been better if there was a couple of weeks of question. He comes in hurt, then does the segment, and even if he has to still have to fight afterward, you can have a question of showing that he's dizzy, that he's hurt, and whether he acts well or not is not the point. At least it would have been a setup ahead of time. So this ending, part of it was fine. The other part of it is too little too late. They should have never done it. And this just iterates what I said before. Impact just doesn't get it right when it comes to the builds going into a major pay-per-view. They just make it either lackluster or messy. But then, weirdly enough, they still manage to pull it off to a certain extent, or they pull it off big time, even with a terrible build, which I don't understand these people. How can you... I'm going to rant. Fuck this. How can you, over the last 6 or 7 years, for every one of your pay-per-views of Slammiversary or Bound for Glory or any of the major pay-per-views you have, Like if you did a Genesis or you did a lockdown, why is it that you cannot get your build right within the last 3 months of going into into it? You never get it right. But then you manage to just barely get it right at the pay-per-view, or you get it right, at least how it's booked, or you do it good. It's stupid. It's stupid. It doesn't make a difference if it works out in the end. It makes no sense, and it gets people annoyed. And then it makes you look scatterbrained. But it's just me. Peace.